There's no getting away from the fact that this is the budget of getting it done. Hiya folks, welcome back to the Small Business Toolbox. I'm Andy Mack and I've been self-employed for ages. Today is a very special day that we've been waiting on for a long time. This has got to be one of the latest budgets that I've ever known. Perhaps someone can let us know in the comments if there's ever been a budget before that's this close to the start of the new tax year. I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, Rishi Sunak's first budget as Chancellor. A lot of firsts in this. First budget of the decade. First budget outside the EU in almost 50 years. And we always kind of knew that this was going to be a good news budget, but unfortunately overshadowed by the events of the whole virus outbreak and whatnot. I'm not going to go into that side of things in any detail whatsoever. Suffice to say that the Chancellor has put a whole raft of measures in place to hopefully keep the economy running until we're out of this slight health emergency that we're in at the moment. But in this video, I'm really going to be covering things off from a self-employed perspective. How is the budget going to affect you as a self-employed person? It's something you need to be aware of. It's going to affect everything that you do from the following tax year, which starts on the 6th of April, so not very long from now. So I've literally got the budget on the screen here. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I'm going to go through a couple of things that might affect you as a self-employed person, or if you employ staff and things like that. And then later in the video, I'm going to tell you the really important stuff that you need to know in terms of tax rates and thresholds and things that might affect your business for the 2020 to 2021 tax years. If you just want to cut to the chase and you don't want to go through the budget and you want to know what the figures are going to be for next tax year, then just skip forward to this time below in the video. So folks, here is the budget and let's have a quick look through it. I'm not going to go through all of the health things that are going on at the minute because that's not really what this video is about. There are a couple of things that will impact you as a business owner if you've got a smaller business. Probably one of the most major things is the government helping with the whole statutory sick pay side of things. The government will support small and medium-sized businesses with the costs relating to statutory sick pay by refunding eligible statutory sick pay costs, and the eligibility criteria are a refund for up to 2 weeks per employee, and this is open to employers with fewer than 250 employees. We've also got the business rates relief. This is quite interesting. The government has already announced the business rates retail discount will be increased to 50% in 2020 to 21. And to support small businesses affected by the outbreak, the government's increasing it further to 100%. The relief will also be expanded to the leisure and hospitality sectors. These temporary measures taken together with the existing small business rates relief mean that around 900,000 properties, or 45% of all properties in England, will receive 100% business rates relief in 2020 to 21. And then we've got small business grant funding. The government recognises that many small businesses pay little or no business rates because of small business rate relief. So to support those businesses, and it just levels the playing field a little bit, why should bigger businesses get the relief but smaller businesses get nothing? The government's going to provide 2.2 billion of funding to local authorities in England. So I think it's just a £3,000 grant by the looks of it, which is pretty cool. And we've also got this time to pay thing, which is quite a nice thing that they've introduced as well. And it's basically saying if your business has been impacted by the outbreak, then presumably you can have a chat with HMRC and come up with some sort of time deferred or payment plan of some description. And they've put in place a business interruption loan scheme. I'm not sure, this might be more applicable to bigger businesses. I'm not sure, but the government will launch a new temporary business interruption loan scheme delivered by the British Business Bank to support businesses to access bank lending and overdrafts. The government will provide lenders with a guarantee of 80% on each loan to give lenders further confidence in continuing to provide finance to SMEs. The government will not charge businesses or banks for this guarantee, and the scheme will support loans of up to 1.2 million in value. Lots and lots of money for the NHS. I'm not going to cover that in this video. It's not really relevant to the small business side of things, but it's obviously very welcome that the NHS is being well funded. As predicted, huge amount of money for infrastructure. The Second Road Investment Strategy, RIS2, will spend over 27 billion between 2020 and 2025. I'm not going to go into that, not particularly relevant to small business again, other than the fact that there'll be more roads for you to drive around on and hopefully win more business. Okay, income tax and national insurance. This is quite an important one. The government is committed to keeping taxes low, helping hard-working people keep more of what they earn. In less than a decade, the personal allowance has increased by over 90%, blah, blah, blah. The budget confirms the government's commitment to increase the national insurance contributions, primary threshold and lower profits limit for employees and the self-employed, respectively, to £9,500 from April 2020. Mentions here, this is the first step in meeting the government's ambition to increase the thresholds to £12,500. Blah, blah, blah. I think I might have missed the bit about the national living wage. Where did that go? Because that was mentioned. So here we go. Worth bearing this in mind. The government is committed to taking action to help with the cost of living for everyone across the UK, ensure that the most vulnerable in society get the support they need. Alongside the budget, the government is formally announcing a new ambitious target for the national living wage to reach 2/3 of median earnings and be extended to workers aged 21 and over by 2024. Provided economic conditions allow. So they have given themselves a bit of a get out there if there's some sort of economic disaster in the meantime. Hopefully there won't be. Based on the latest OBR forecast, this means the national living wage is expected to be over £10.50 by 2024. Digital connectivity, this can only be a good thing to help small businesses in rural areas, and especially if you work from home or anything like that. $5 billion to support the rollout of gigabit broadband in the most difficult to reach 20% of the country, so that's good news. I'm pretty sure that got mentioned a little while ago, so I'm not sure how new that is, but perhaps someone can correct me in the comments. Some more good news here. If you have anything to do with producing e-publications of any description, cutting the cost of living, section 1.174, if you're playing along at home, the government will introduce legislation to apply a zero rate of VAT to e-publications from the 1st of December 2020, which will make it clear that e-books, e-newspapers, e-magazines and academic e-journals are entitled to the same VAT treatment as their physical counterparts. The government expects the publishing industry, including e-booksellers, to pass on the benefit of this relief to consumers. It should benefit all who read digitally, including children. Again, I haven't seen the detail of how this is going to work yet. I hope this isn't only aimed at big players, and this also affects, like, you know, smaller blog outlets and smaller e-publications. Hopefully this will be done on a level playing field basis, but we shall see. I'm really hoping that this means the whole ridiculous VAT MOS thing will just disappear, but again, I'm not entirely sure. If you want to know more about VAT MOS and what it is, I'll include a link in the description where I rant about that at length. Doesn't impact me, but it's an important one. Now that the UK has left the EU, it can reduce the cost of essential sanitary products, and basically the tampon tax has been abolished, which is good news. Very alcohol-friendly budget this has been. Freeze on duties on beer and spirits and wine on cider. I'm not entirely sure if that's a good thing or not, but I did say this is going to be a good news budget, and I'm sure a lot of people will be very happy about that. Business and enterprise support, 1.194. The government is extending the funding of the British Business Bank's Startup Loan Programme to the end of 2021 to 22. We've got an investment of 10 million in growth hubs, and we've got 13 million to expand the British Library's network of business and intellectual property centres. Support for the self-employed, 1.199. The government has reviewed how support for the self-employed can be strengthened. It will improve access to finance and credit for self-employed people by extending further the Startup Loans programme as above, and by exploring how to improve the guidance available for self-employed people applying for a mortgage. Self-employed people will also benefit from the government's continued efforts to tackle late payments. That's quite an interesting one. The BEIS will shortly publish a consultation on the merits of strengthening the powers of the Small Business Commissioner. Blah, blah, blah. In all honesty, nothing there that impacts me at all. The government will consider how to provide appropriate support to self-employed parents. Interesting. Not sure how that'll work, but that would be nice. Parental pay and leave as a self-employed person. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work, but okay. Corporation tax will remain at 19%. No particular surprise there. If you're self-employed and you don't have a limited company, then that doesn't impact you particularly. 1.212, small businesses play a crucial role in driving the economy and creating jobs. Too right it does. The government will help small businesses take on extra staff to fulfil their potential and boost employment by delivering on its commitment to increase the employment allowance to £4,000. As a result, businesses will be able to employ 4 full-time employees on the national living wage without paying any employer national insurance contributions. Entrepreneurs relief, 1.213. This is an interesting one. The government will continue to use the tax system to support genuine risk-taking creativity. Good, where it's proven to be effective. In response to evidence that entrepreneurs relief has primarily benefited blah, blah, blah. Okay. There was a risk that entrepreneurs relief was going to get completely abolished, but it looks like they're just reducing it down from a 10 million relief down to 1 million. It won't let me highlight that. Down to 1 million relief. Okay, well, could have been worse, I suppose. Again, post in the comments if you think that's going to be a problem. As I say, they could have abolished it completely, so it's kind of nice to see that they've paid some attention to the fact that entrepreneurs are actually an important factor in society. 1.216, the budget announces a set of targeted measures to ensure that businesses pay the tax they owe, ensuring fairness for everyone. This includes measurements to crack down on tax abuse in the construction industry. Sorry guys, you've brought that on yourself. Yeah, it's a huge problem and I'm sure they do need to crack down on it, but okay. Illicit tobacco and among big businesses, as well as measures to tackle the promoters of tax avoidance schemes, which is also good news. Level playing field is the way that it needs to go, and that needs to apply to everyone. Lots of money for science, lots of money for R&D, which is good. Obviously, they've had to talk about the greener economy thing. Reducing vehicle pollution. This is interesting, providing 500 million over the next 5 years to support the rollout of a fast charging network for electric vehicles. Yep, desperately needed. 1.247, the government will also remove the entitlement to the use of red diesel from April 2022, except in agriculture, fish farming and for non-commercial heating, including domestic heating. By removing this tax relief on pollution, the government, yeah, okay. I'm not quite sure. Again, let me know in the comments if this is going to impact you. Is this going to mainly impact like the construction industry and all that side of things? Obviously, mining and anything that uses huge machines and lots of red diesel. I don't know. Did they use red diesel before? I don't see how the government's got an option here, really. You can't say that you're doing huge things for the environment while giving massive tax relief for using red diesel. I don't see how they can get out of that, to be honest. Cleaner vehicles will improve air quality, blah, blah, blah. Natural environment, yep. Waste and recycling. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff in there. I'm not going to go into it because this video will end up being crazily long. The whole document's 125 pages long. I'm not going to go through all of it. I'll include a link in the description if you want to actually read the budget, but there you go. Budget 2020. Long overdue. Been waiting for this budget for a long time. So folks, as promised, let's do a really quick comparison of the tax rates from the current tax year, that's 2019 to the 2020 tax year, and we'll compare it to what the new tax year tax rates are going to be, so things that you're going to have to be aware of from April the 6th, 2020 onwards. And really from a stability perspective, and kind of good news in the scheme of things, because there's a lot of other things going on at the minute, is that not a lot has changed. Let's just go through everything really quickly. The personal allowance, which used to be £12,500, still is £12,500. So that's the threshold below which you don't have to pay any income tax. Profits above £12,500, so from £12,501 to £50,000, are taxed at the usual 20%, and then from £50,001 to £150,000, they're taxed at 40%. You've still got a savings allowance of £1,000, a trading allowance of £1,000 and a property allowance of £1,000. Nothing has changed there. There's a couple of very minor changes on the national insurance front, but it's not a radical change really. Class 2 national insurance threshold used to be £6,365, it's now £6,475. And the Class 2 national insurance rate used to be £3 per week and it's now £3.05 per week. Why they can't just leave it at round numbers is beyond me. One of the biggest changes, Class 4 national insurance threshold has been increased from £8,632 per year up to a threshold of £9,500. So below £9,500, Class 4 NI doesn't apply. The rates are still the same, 9% up to £50,000 profits and 2% above that. And then again, VAT threshold, no change, still £85,000 threshold before you have to register for VAT, one of the highest levels in the OECD, so it's unlikely that's going to change anytime soon. The VAT rate is still 20%. The annual investment allowance limit is still set at £1 million and that lasts until December 2020. Cash basis threshold is still 150,000, nothing has changed there. State pension age is still 67 and you need to have 35 qualifying years to get your full state pension. So there you go folks, let us know in the comments below how this is going to affect your business. Is it going to affect it at all? Is there anything in terms of like the business rates relief that could help your business? Hopefully it does. It was always going to be a good news budget, this one. There's a couple of things that I would probably like to have seen, especially some reforms to the whole IR35 thing that's going on at the moment, but perhaps that'll be covered off separately, I'm not sure. The major changes from my perspective that could help a lot of small businesses, of course, the abolition of business rates for retail, leisure and hospitality businesses with a rateable value under £51,000 per year. Also nice to see the £3,000 cash grant for businesses that are already applicable to small business rates relief. Do obviously be aware of the increase of the national living wage up to £10.50 an hour by 2024. Of course, we've got the national insurance threshold increase up to £9,500 that we already talked about. Extra money for business startup loans, extra money for business growth hubs. It is definitely a shame that entrepreneurs relief has been reduced, but it could have been a lot worse. It could have been abolished altogether. That's obviously been reduced down to £1 million from 10 million. Abolishing tax relief on red diesel is an interesting one. Is that going to impact your business at all? It doesn't affect agriculture, luckily. It doesn't kick in for 2 years' time. I'm not sure. Does that impact the construction industry a fair bit? Let me know in the comments. And of course, we've got the reading tax being abolished as well, which is quite a welcome change for a lot of businesses out there who are now reliant on e-publications rather than print publications, and it puts everyone on a level playing field. I'm not sure if it's going to impact me or not. I don't know if I fall into the category of e-publications. I guess I will find out. It would be really nice to see the whole VAT MOS scheme abolished completely, which affects digital product sales and giving like me a completely different way of working with VAT for the sale of things like ebooks and e-publications, sheet music for my drum website and things like that. Can't for the life of me work out why that has different VAT rules to everything else. And with any luck, that'll get all hoovered up in the reading tax thing, because no idea why the VAT MOS thing even exists, to be honest. What they could potentially do, just to simplify everything, is just to say ebooks and e-publications and whatnot just are exempt from the whole VAT MOS thing. Because at the minute, it's the most overly complicated thing for such a small amount of tax. It just seems insane. Does anyone even do it? I have no idea. Anyway, hope you found that useful. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit subscribe. Always covering small business and self-employment related things on this channel. As I say, let us know in the comments how this budget is affecting you. In the meantime, stay healthy and have a fantastically productive 2020. I shall see you next time. Tatty bye.